Alright, so I'm going to teach you some leash pressure techniques. So leash pressure is essentially when you have a leash on your dog, you kind of give a little bit of pressure on it, right? So kind of pulling the leash towards you or whatever direction. And ideally the dog kind of gives into that and goes towards the pressure. So introducing this, you want to do this inside your home. Leash pressure is pretty important when you want to take your dog on a walk and you don't want them to pull on the leash. This will eventually kind of go into when your dog sees something that is highly stimulating, so like another dog, person, whatever it is, ducks. So you want to introduce them the concept, like the really basic concept of when they feel some kind of pressure on the leash that is coming from you, they need to give into it. So I'm going to show you with my dog here. I'm using a pretty basic slip leash, but you guys can use just normal flat collar and clip leash. It is a little easier if you have a slip lead, just because the pressure that you give is going to be a lot more even around their neck, right? So when you pull on a flat collar, you'll notice that there's like a gap in between the collar and the neck of the dog, and so the pressure is not super clear to them. So the slip lead makes it pretty clear to them. Again, you can also use a martingale. So martingale is really good. It's like a safety collar. So it looks like a normal flat collar, and some of it is chain, or it has like an extra amount of collar where you pull on it and it will cinch up. So that's something that you can use just a clip leash. So I'm going to show you with my dog here. So I'm just going to put this on here. Okay, so if you're using a martingale or a slip leash, ideally you want it to be high up on their neck, just so you're not putting too much pressure on their trachea, right? So it's a little bit more comfortable for them. You're going to have a little bit better of a result as well. So what it's going to look like is you're just going to just barely give pressure on the leash. So I'm going to show you with my dog here. She's pretty accustomed to leash pressure, so you'll see her give in pretty easy. But essentially what it's going to look like is you pull just a little bit and they give in to it, and then the pressure gets released. So that's technically called negative reinforcement, right? So negative reinforcement is pressure, and then the negative part of it, which is the pressure, goes away when they come to you. So it's self-rewarding. So this is going to help your dog understand that, again, when they feel pressure on the leash, they have to give into it. Now, your dog may not just give into it like you're seeing my dog do, right? So you may see your dog try to resist it, right? So you give pressure on the leash and they give counter pressure, right? So counter pressure is going to look like, right, they feel pulling sensation and they actually pull away from you and create more pressure on the leash. So if that happens, you don't want to give in to that. You just want to stay in place, right? So you just want to stay exactly where you're at. And as soon as they come towards you, the pressure is going to automatically release. And again, it's just a self-rewarding concept that's going to happen. So, right, so you hold pressure, right? So right here, I'm holding pressure. Okay, so as you see that she's just staying there, right? So this is kind of on purpose. She kind of knows what this means, right? So I'm holding pressure. And then one thing that you can do if your dog is just like resistant, you can give a little bit encouragement, right? Have them come towards you. And then when they do that, right, again, self-rewarding, the pressure goes away. You can also give praise, treat, that sort of thing. In the very beginning, when you're first teaching this concept, using treats, toys, some kind of motivation is going to be really helpful for them to really become encouraged to want to keep trying and working with you, especially when you're introducing a new concept for some dogs, it can be kind of like a lot for them. So I'm just going to show you again. So just pressure. So, right, steady pressure. And then as soon as the dog gives in, right, the pressure just automatically goes away. So this is going to be so important when you're walking your dog, right? So when you're walking your dog, right, you're just kind of walking with them, right? And you want them to go this way, and now you want them to go this way, right? So it's all just showing them where to go with the leash. So it's just like a tool of guidance for them. And so this is going to help for them to not pull, right? So with some dogs who have practiced pulling on the leash for a long time, this has become like habit for them. It is going to take them a little bit to reverse that habit, right? So when you pull on the leash, there's automatically just going to resist because that's what they've been practicing. Really, the main thing to remember is when you put pressure on the leash and they're doing counter pressure, again, you're not going towards them. You're just waiting them out until they come towards you. Maybe you take a few steps back to create that loose leash and help them out. But again, in the beginning, you want to use some kind of motivation, right? Toy, treat, praise, whatever it is, and really help them out, really support them along that process. And as they get better, the idea of just the pressure just automatically releasing when they come towards you will be a reward in itself. So you don't constantly need to be giving them treats and toys and praise, that sort of a thing. You can eventually fade that out. So that's a little bit on leash pressure. Again, this really helps a lot with when you are walking your dog. And eventually, right, when they get really good at it, you start kind of going into higher distraction areas, right? You start kind of having them pull on the leash towards something they want to go towards, right? A duck, a dog, person, whatever it is, right? You're at the end of the leash, you hold pressure, and as soon as they come back to you to create that loose leash, you're going to reward them. You just kind of repeat that, and eventually you can have like that nice loose leash walking, right? They don't need to be walking right beside you in a perfect heel or anything like that, but it is really nice for them to just be on that leash without constant pulling. Right, so it's totally okay and acceptable for your dog to be walking a little bit ahead of you. Again, the main thing is that they're not pulling on that leash and essentially telling you where to go. So the main thing is you want that leash to be a tool of guidance, right? You are connected to your dog with that leash, and you don't want it to be like a tool for them to use against you, right? So you don't want them to be pulling you, wherever they want to go. It kind of eventually makes the walk a little bit more of like a chore instead of just kind of like a pleasant outing with your dog. So that's leash pressure.